So, one of the things that I have a problem with in 5th edition D&D is intelligence isn't really a very useful stat. And I've seen people try to propose solutions to this problem. One that I've seen that I think a lot of people might agree with, or has gotten some traction, is every intelligence modifier, for every point in your intelligence modifier, you get an additional skill. I kind of like that solution, but I have a few problems with it. First of all, if you have a negative intelligence modifier, you lose skills, and I think that's just not very fun. If you have a character like a barbarian, for example, that has, the standard sort of low intelligence, they're going to be losing skills, and they're not going to feel very useful outside combat, and that's not very fun to me. So I would say you definitely don't lose skills for having low intelligence. I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but it seems like too much for me. I also feel like one skill for every point in your intelligence modifier is a little too much. So I would say maybe do one for every 2. So 1 and 2, you get 1 additional skill. 3 and 4, you get 2 additional skills. 5, 6, you get 3. I think to even improve on this further, another thing in 5th edition is expertise, and I feel like it's a cool class feature, and it's not used very often. I think a lot of my problem with skills as a player is you're sort of like, you're good at a few things, but you're not really that good at anything, especially at early levels. Later levels, it's not too much of a problem, but I don't know, I feel like you should be better at skills. And so I would say, if you're into this whole intelligence modifier thing, give people expertise instead of skills. So for 1 and 2, you get 1 expertise. 2 and 3, you get 2 expertise. 3 and 4, you get another expertise. Or sorry, 5 and 6, you get another expertise. And I think, one, this makes expertise a little more better. I think it fits more also with the spirit of what I would be trying to do with intelligence and making it more useful. I think it's just more fun, because I don't think it's like the problem is that you don't get enough skills in 5th edition. I think it's that you're not particularly good at those skills at lower levels. And this way, the class feature is still pretty useful. I guess the argument is that it makes the class feature less special. And I don't really know. I think it's still a useful class feature even if you have this extra thing in it. But maybe you could adjust the class feature. Maybe you could just make it additional skills. I don't know. Those are just some thoughts on intelligence and skills. I definitely think intelligence should be more useful than it is. But I don't think there's really an elegant solution for that in 5th edition. Mainly because the system's just not built for it, So it's hard to have a good solution. I would say maybe every 2 intelligence points you get an expertise or a skill of your choice from your class list. I think that would be my solution. And I haven't done this with any of my campaigns, mainly because either it's before, this has sort of, when I first started doing campaigns, it was before I really thought about this too much, so I didn't think to put it in, or there's a lot of new players, and I don't think, if you're having new players, I think it's not a great idea to add a lot of homebrew rules to character creation. I think new players should be able to look through the book and create characters themselves, and then not have you go back and make a bunch of corrections. So I'd only do this with, players that I've played with a lot. So, my Quincy gang. Next time we start new characters, we might do this. I don't know. We might not. But I'd like to. And see how it goes. The other thing I want to talk about is my campaign setting. And I don't know. I don't know what I want to talk about exactly. I don't know how to say this without sounding like it's bragging. But I really like, how player-driven everything is, because there's none of what I have now with my campaigns is what I anticipated it would be, or I expected where it would go. And I think I really like that. So I don't know, everything's very player driven, and I think that's fun. I'm not a big fan of the sort of linear narrative. In the campaign setting at this point, there's been sort of 4 major eras. There's eras within those eras and stuff like that, but that's, a little too much to get into. But you have the people who played my campaign. You've heard some of this, and some of it makes sense. You've had pre-War of the Gods. That's sort of the ideal time, peak civilization, really. At that time, there were the elves and dwarves, and then the dwarves and elves made gnomes. Actually, not peak civilization, probably. Well, at peak civilization, because, but not perfect, because the gnomes were slaves, and that's just a whole problem, It's not perfect civilization, but definitely peak. And then you have the War of the Gods, and then, orcs come along. Halflings were probably in there somewhere, no one really knows. After the War of the Gods, you have the dragons and the Dragonborn, and they sort of ruled for a long time. And they were the dominant race. And then you have the War of the Dragons, and the dragons their civilization sort of collapses. After, it reached its greatest point. And then you have elves who ruled for, a couple, 10,000, 12,000 years after that. Elves were the dominant race. And then their civilization fell to humans, and no one really knows where humans came from. They just sort of appeared. It's implied they're related to elves and orcs because of half elves and half orcs. But no one knows where they came from. Elven civilization collapsed, and then you had the peak of human civilization with the old empire. And now it's sort of to the modern day, to the current campaign setting. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of player-driven stuff. I think it's really interesting. I'm really excited for it. You have a lot of... I'm realizing as I'm explaining this that my whole campaign setting is just a race war. That's what it's all sort of building to at the moment. The major contenders right now are the humans and the Dragonborn. That's going to be a huge conflict, and we'll see who wins. It's honestly... I think the thing that's so exciting for it is there's going to be a large conflict between humanity and Dragonborn and dragons. And either side could win. I honestly don't know. The players, they might not win. They might lose. And then for in my campaign setting from now on, Dragonborn will be the dominant race until another paradigm shift sort of occurs, which would be really interesting. Humans could stay in power. I think tieflings have a chance to really gain a lot more than they have at the moment, if that makes sense. That's not really well worded, but my friend Ryan, he's doing a lot for tiefling sort of progression, and they have the potential to gain a lot of standing that they haven't had before. And that's entirely player driven. That's not something that I set up before. The dragons I sort of set up before. But this whole tiefling thing, that's entirely player driven. The elves have some stuff to gain in one region, so they might become a more powerful player. And my campaign there, in Incordia, a lot of what goes on there is going to be player determined. And so far the players they've left that area, or they're in the process of leaving that area. And so elves stand a lot to gain, and that's directly affected by the players. They've left that region, and the elves have a lot of power that they're going to gain. I don't know, it's really exciting. A lot of player-driven stuff. In my campaign here at Plymouth, there's definitely going to be some involvement in the dragon conflict, or at least I've hinted at it. They might choose not to actually end up getting involved with it, but that will have consequences, If they do get involved with it and they fail, that will also have consequences. If they succeed, that'll have consequences. It's exciting, and I think it's sort of the way I set it up was it was sort of a turning point in history, and I didn't know where anything's going to go, and I still don't know where anything's going to go. But it's exciting because everyone in my campaigns, you guys are sort of at a turning point, and you're going to be determining what the next sort of age is like, you know. So far it looks like a general progression. You know, maybe it'll be like an age of exploration and rediscovery of ancient arts. But also maybe it'll be a time of chaos and war, and then the dragons all take over, and it's a bit of a regression again. I don't know. It's exciting. That's the point, is that it's exciting. There's really no point to this video. I put milk in my tea. I don't normally do that. It's not that bad. I thought it was going to taste kind of bad. But it's good.